And good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is Mr. Kassarian, and welcome to a spotlight on ReactorCraft. ReactorCraft is one of Reika's mods. It's a companion mod to RotaryCraft, and I want to warn you before we get started, it does require RotaryCraft to get it going, and it also requires that you have a fairly good tech base in RotaryCraft before you can really get things going. Alright? So I want to warn you about that before we get started. I know I ran into that in my single-player series and in my multiplayer series and had a bit of a problem with it. But anyways, guys, without too much to do, let's get started with ReactorCraft. Alright guys, so as you can see here, ReactorCraft does have some world gen. Unlike RotaryCraft, which just kind of eats your iron and gives you some awesome machines in return, ReactorCraft does have some, materials you need from the world. We have pitch blende, which is the version of uranium, cadmium, indium, silver, ammonium chloride, calcite, and magnetite. Magnetite you can find near the surface, calcite, and calcite is usually at middle levels. Silver, indium, and cadmium are at the lower levels, and pitch blende's kind of scattered. Alright, so how do you process this stuff, and how do you get uranium? I mean, we can't build a reactor without raw uranium, right? Well, we have to process this stuff, or pitch blende. Alright, so, how do you actually get uranium? Well, that's a good question. The real question isn't how do you get uranium, the real question is how do you get uranium you can use in a nuclear reactor. This involves one more type I forgot about, fluoride. Now, fluoride's pretty cool. It actually drops all of these different colored crystals. They don't really do anything other than look pretty. And I think you can use them as a dye? Nah, I don't think you can. So what you do is you take your uranium, your pitch blende, and you chuck it in your furnace. Now I'm using a frictional heater from RotaryCraft back there. And you get raw uranium ingots. Now, here's where the fun starts. You throw your raw uranium into the uranium processor, but you also take some of these fluoride crystals and throw those in there as well. And I think I flipped where this should go. There we go. So what this is going to do is it's going to mix with the water that you're supplying to it and generate hydrofluoric acid. Yeah, that's nasty stuff, guys. Hydrofluoric acid, that'll... Let's just say you don't want to go anywhere near that stuff, alright? Now, I'm using an aqueous accumulator for this just because it's nice and easy to do. But you don't have to. And then what's going to happen is you're going to start to get uranium hexafluoride, alright? Now, what do you do with the uranium hexafluoride? Well, if we go back in and we look at, what was it called? I believe it was mod. Let's switch back to our ReactorCraft page here. And this one is always troublesome to find. I believe it's this thing, the duct. Duct? No. Apparently, I'm having trouble finding it today. Alright. You cannot use a standard fluid. You need a gas duct. There we go. You cannot use standard fluid transport systems in this. If you do, it will end very badly for you. I believe it goes in from the side. I believe so. And you just connect it up. And remember, hitboxes. Connect it up like that. Like that, and you should see fairly rapidly that you're getting uranium hexafluoride inside your isotope centrifuge. Let's just make this nice and pretty. There we go. So now what's going to happen is this thing's going to fill up with that uranium hexafluoride. Okay? You can see uranium hexafluoride is being pumped out. Our pitch blende's still being processed. And yes, you can automate this. Don't worry about that. This is automatable. And now it's going into our isotope centrifuge. Once it's in our centrifuge, well, we have to centrifuge it. So, spins, baby, spin. Now, this thing does not require a lot of torque. It requires very high speed to centrifuge. Incredibly high speed. Alright? If you guys know much about the actual nuclear program, this is the reason why everyone's complaining about Iran building centrifuges. This is why. Because when you centrifuge, what you're doing is you're actually separating out your low quality and your high quality, or low weight and high weight, uranium materials that you've now turned into, I believe it's a gas or a liquid. I don't remember whether hexafluoride is a gas or a liquid at this point. But you're now separating them and you're pulling them apart. okay? And what you're going to get is, most of the time, you're going to get depleted uranium. In the real world, you just get a lot of this depleted uranium dust. All right? And that doesn't hurt you at all. All right? But you have to leave this running for a while, and eventually, you're going to get, I believe, some of this uranium dust. Or not. Let's see. That's corium. You do not want to find out what corium is. Well, you will. Ah, right. You'll get some of this stuff. Enriched uranium dust. All right? And let me see. Is this stuff poisonous to you? Nope. Okay. So once you get your enriched uranium dust, you have to get 4 of it, by the way. And then you're going to want to come over and get yourself a crafting table, or I believe you can do this in your... And you get uranium fuel pellets fresh. Nice. And I'm amazed I'm not dead yet. Okay. Anyways, you now have your uranium fuel pellets. And these are what we're actually going to use inside our nuclear reactor. Which we're going to have to get to in a couple minutes, because I need to set that up, and I need to explain to you guys exactly how nuclear reactors actually function. So hang with me for a second, and I'll be right back. Alright, so now that we have our enriched uranium, what are we going to do with it? Well, we're going to build ourselves a nuclear reactor. And let's take a look at a pretty simple design. Alright, so 3, oops, and then and 1, 2, 3. Okay, now notice that each of these has a temperature that Wayla is very kindly showing us, alright? And these are fuel cores. These are where we actually put our uranium, alright? Now let's put down some control rods, okay? Control rods are really important for this whole thing. Alright, there we go, we got some control rods. Alright, now let's get down underground here. And, no, let's disable everything else. There we go. Nice and bright for us. Alright, so now let's get down under here. And we're going to put down a central control right there. And this is the core of our nuclear reactor. Okay? Nothing happens without this central core. Okay? Well, things do, but it's a little harder to control. Now, we're going to need to give it power, so let's get it a bevel gear. Okay. And there we go. Yes, I'm getting to the point with this where I can actually just kind of take care of it. Now remember, this does require... There we go, creative mode. This does require that you have rotary craft. And the central core does also require that it receives shaft power. Now, you can do this a couple different ways, but we're just going to do it this way. Let's do this. And let's do that. That's a number you'll never see in actual rotary craft. There we go. Oh, and I have it flipped the wrong way. Alright, hold on. Wink. There we go. We're spinning, we're spinning, we're spinning. Okay, we're good. And we're out of here. Okay. Now what do we need? Well, we want to generate power with this, which means that we're going to throw down some steam boilers. Just like so. Okay. And I want to put some control rods here and there. Okay. And then let's put some more steam boilers over here. This is not an incredibly efficient design. I'm going to warn you guys in advance. This is a design that kind of works. I'm not yet an expert at this. I'm just showing you guys the basics of it. Alright. Now, let's do that and that. There we go. And let's throw boiler there and there. Because all of this, as you can see, can share power. Alright. So now let's get down underground here. Each of these needs to be fed water. Okay. As said, it's a water boiler, so it would be kind of silly if it didn't. Alright, so let me just clear out some space underneath these, and I will be right back. Alright, so as you can see here, I'm just using some portable tanks. created portable tanks to generate water for this thing. Now you got to be careful here because you want to make sure that each of these is filling up, right? So we want to connect that and that. Let's just double check. Let's go up top. And let's just make sure that these are all hooked up correctly. We got water in all of these. Yeah. Okay, good. And you can use pretty much any fluid transport system. I'm using thermal expansion just because that's the one I like the most. Okay, so now all of these are hooked up. Now what do we do? Well, if you notice, I'm in creative mode. And let's get some fuel pellets. There we go. And now all we're going to do is we're going to throw these guys in here. So we're just going to load up these reactors with fuel pellets. Now, you might see something interesting start happening as we load these guys up, which are little dots that may come flying out of the reactors and go in interesting places. Okay? So let's fill these, and this, and this, and are we done? We're done. Okay, yeah, see these little black dots? These are neutron pulses, alright? Every tick, a reactor has a chance to emit a neutron pulse. And what it'll do is it'll emit that pulse out, and it'll hit another reactor. So you can see all these guys are hitting each other, they're all activating. But notice that these are all down, right? Our temperature's getting a little high, but not very. And here's why. These these control rods stop neutron pulses from hitting each other. If you notice, each of these three segments I isolated. That's so that these things don't decay, alright? They're not actually active. So let me retract all my fuel rods. Retract all my fuel. Am I actually not getting enough power on that? Alright, it's being a pain in the rear end. Why is it being a pain in the rear end? Okay. Oh, because I lost my lever. Oh, that would be why. Alright. Don't forget this thing does need a lever to function. Now, you don't need to keep recharging this, because remember, we're going to be generating power with this system. So you don't have to really worry about this once it's all set up. Can I put it there? Can I put it there? No, apparently I can't put it anywhere. Okay, let's solve this problem the cheap way. Right there, to there, to there, and I don't want my jetpack, to be honest with you. And there we go. So now that's spinning, that's running, and we should be able to raise our fuel rods. If this central core runs out of power, alright, see how they're all green now? That means they're all down. If the central core runs out of power, all of these will slam down and shut your reactor down. Now you can alter these by clicking on them, alright? Notice we just pulled all of our reactor units out. And notice how quickly that temperature is increasing. Okay? It does take a certain amount of critical mass to get these things running, and this is not a very efficient design. But this design should get us hot enough to actually function. Now, let me come out of creative mode. Let me stand right here. Okay, see how I have poison, nausea, and radiation sickness? Right. So what just happened there was I got hit by a neutron, alright? And that stuff hurts, alright? It can really poison you. You can either wear one of two things. You can wear the stuff that's made from the radiation shielding fabric, which is the Hazmat Suit. Alright, so let me get myself a Hazmat Suit. I'm not certain why that's not going away. So I can either wear a Hazmat Suit, which, by the way, is different from the IC2 Hazmat Suit. So now in a Hazmat Suit, I can stand here and not die. Okay? I'm now wearing a Hazmat Suit, not too shabby. Okay? Not too shabby at all. Oh, I know what's happening. Right. Okay, let me get some food here so I don't die. You can also get yourself... Let's see, where's the pendant? Bloom. Pendant. I just saw it there. Okay. The white pendant, I have an enhanced version with me right now, which should get rid of that. Of course, it's not for some reason. I'm not certain what's going on there, but that's okay. Suffice to say, you have to be kind of careful with this stuff, alright? Back to peaceful. So now we should see, there we go. Our temperature's now gotten up above 100. If you notice, it's starting to increase the temperature in these boilers, which will start generating steam for us. There we go. We just hit 100 and it started generating steam. Turn the rain off, please. Disable the rain, please. So we should start to get steam coming out of these things. Now, how do we transport the steam? Well, we need some steam pipes. Okay? Remember, guys, this is purely for a solid fuel reactor. All right? So let's connect all of these. And remember, the bounding boxes can be a little tricky. All right, let's connect these. And yeah, I know that reactor is going to be hard to access like that. So let's do it like this. There we go. All right. Now we can run these steam lines over. We can basically do the same thing over here. And these steam lines can hold essentially an infinite amount of steam. Really. Alright, so you don't really have to worry about, you know, well, how much steam do I have? How much steam am I producing? You know, it doesn't even bother. Alright. So now, I wouldn't cover this thing up. Well, we can still kind of, well, we won't be able to, basically. What will happen is, if these things get too hot, and you can see this thing's already building up heat pretty fast, alright? So I may want to drop one of these rods, alright? So I don't actually want to have that there, then. Because I may want to drop these two rods back into the reactor, okay? That's basically how you manage your steam flow, alright? Now I can do that, and I can still raise this one, right? Yeah, okay. It's just a purely visual effect. There's actually no clipping when those things are extended. So let's just finish hooking these guys up. Like that. Like that. Let's come down over here. Like that. And we can actually tie these two together all the way over here. And then like that. Now, you guys are probably saying, boy, Kess, these things are traveling an awfully long distance. How do we stop them from traveling all that way? I can cut that off too. And these guys should now, yeah, see how it's being a little bit more moderated now towards 100? Just by dropping those center rods down? Perfect. Now you're probably saying, Kess, come on, man. This stuff's really hard, alright? This is like... How are we going to deal with all this, you know, neutron radiation? Well, concrete. Simple answer. If you put down 3 concrete, right, you can see they're still traveling through. If you put down 2 concrete, you still have a couple. But I can basically stand here and be okay. Now, neutrons always travel in one direction, right? So you can see the neutrons, they're not coming through to my side of the barrier now. So you can build this thing shielded, alright? So I could actually build all this up right off the reactor sides. And have it function as shielding, basically. So let's get this thing nice and shielded. Just like this. And this would be where Builder's Wand would be nice and useful, just to lay out this concrete. And concrete's pretty cheap, too. It's just some sand, some clay, and some water, alright? And it basically means that you can actually pack these things pretty close to each other. Because let me warn you about something here. See how the neutrons are kind of flying everywhere? You can have neutrons, if you have multiple reactors placed close to each other, you can have neutrons cross-affecting, alright? So basically, even though each reactor on its own is running fine, you may have issues, because, you know, you could end up in a situation where it isn't running so fine. So let's see, over here, we're sitting at 94, this is staying about stable. And don't worry, also, these things will stabilize. Yeah, you can see they're stopping in that network. Alright, perfect. So now, what do we do with the steam? Well, why don't you guys give me a couple seconds, and I'll show you. Alright guys, so, you want to know what we do with all the steam we're producing. Well, what better way to turn steam at high pressure into power than a turbine? Now, turbines are expensive, alright? Propeller blades surrounding a compound turbine. Propeller blades are shaft units, steel ingots, and base panels. Alright, so this is going to be quite a bit of power. Now, all you're going to do is you're going to take your turbine, you're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Alright, these things can be a maximum of 5 long. Okay? And now we're going to stick our dynamometer right there. Let's see how much power we're outputting here. That's a pretty good amount of power coming out of one turbine here. We're already crawling up on, let's see, 400 megawatts and rising. We're producing as kilonewton meters at K radians per second. By the way, that K, that doesn't mean we're playing Kerbal Space Program. That's kilo, or 1,000. So we're actually spinning at 63,000 radians per second. Let me do a conversion here. Let's see. Okay, so that is 601,605 rotations per RPM. So that's pretty fast. And look at the sheer amount of megawatts we're producing. We actually may be able to get up to a gigawatt of power coming out of one turbine. Alright? Now, we need one steam vent here, right there. And this steam that's rising off the turbine, well, okay, so here's where we want to be a little bit careful about it, right? Because this stuff can cause some server issues. Alright, oops, I'm going to break that. I'm going to go down there. So see, if it doesn't have a clear path out, it'll break, basically. But what we're doing now is we're just kind of ensuring that it's all going up from one direction. Alright? And we're still, I mean, that's a lot of power. That's almost a gigawatt of power being produced by one turbine coming off of one reactor. And this isn't even that big or efficient a reactor. Alright? And actually... Okay, so this is another thing about these reactors, which is that the reactor, if you notice, is actually... Oh, what's the best way of saying it? It's clogged up, alright? The more of this nuclear waste there is in there, the more... Oh, that's why. Okay. Apparently when I reloaded my game, it went into auto shutdown on me. Okay. However, it's still producing enough steam to keep the turbine running. However, let's see if we get a little bit more out of it. That should boost the temperature back up to 100 degrees. So we should be generating some more steam. I think we're actually right now just running on the steam that's still in the power plant. But that is good to know that this thing is fail-safe. Alright? You have to excuse me, I have a tree pollen allergy, or kind of bad right now. So that's power up. That's nice. So you can also see that we are producing nuclear waste. Alright? Strontium-90. Ooh. What happens if we just pick it up? Alright, well, let's get out of creative before we do that. And let's pick it up, shall we? Ow. 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 Let's, Ow. Oops, not what I wanted to do. Let's shove that thing down over there. Alright, so it's trying to cure me right now, but... Oh, right, because the nuclear waste is restoring it. Alright, let's get someplace to store this, shall we? So we have this nuclear waste, and we have to store it somewhere. Ow. I'm sorry about this. Nuclear waste disposal drum. Let's put that there, open it up, and let's put this cesium-134 in. Okay, we're good. Alright. Ooh, that was not something I'd rather say. So you want to be careful with this waste, and you want to figure out a way to manage it. There we go. Without... Okay, yeah, that's another thing, by the way. You want to not be standing next to this, because it will get you sick, okay? It will. Alright, there's no way around that. And while we're doing this... Let's get I want brown. Okay. Enhanced brown. There we go. Okay, that's a little better. So what we're going to have to do is we're actually going to have to take all of this waste out of the reactor core and move it over here. Alright, now this kind of hurts, and we may want to get a hazmat suit to do this with. Now, you guys are going to notice in just a minute here, the hazmat suit doesn't guarantee you protection. Actually, there really isn't any clothing you can really wear. Yeah, see, it's still... just getting close to that disposal drum right now is going to do some damage. So you want to be kind of careful with these disposal drums. Yeah, see, that's how close I can be. Alright, that's bad. We really don't want to be anywhere close to that. Alright. So, yeah, you want to be careful with this. Honestly, the best solution I've found so far is... let me show it to you guys. Let's get a router, alright? This is from Factorization, and I know this is a ReactorCraft spotlight, but I just want to show this to you guys. This is pretty much the best solution I've found to doing this. Alright, so we're going to take our router, and we're going to plop that down here, okay? And we're going to say extract from the bottom, okay? What it should do is, if I'm lucky about this, it's not wanting to today. That's too bad. Right. Well, that doesn't work anymore. Okay. I'll leave you guys to figure out how to get the waste out of this reactor plant, but suffice to say, it's not the easiest thing in the world to do. And you want to be careful about it too, because you have the normal, like, browns, the stuff with the different colors on it, right? Like, molybdenum isn't too bad, molybdenum isn't too bad. Strontium 90, notice how that says 90? Yeah, we want to watch out for that. Okay, we don't want to be anywhere close to that. Zirconium, xenon 135. This stuff isn't too bad. You know, we can kind of remove it and deal with it and sneak underneath the plant and get it out of there. But that strontium 90 stuff, that stuff's lethal, alright? Iodine 131. Yeah, if you guys actually know nuclear physics, this is all very realistic, and this is something that they actually have to deal with reactor plants. Though it tends to be a little bit different than it's modeled here. And again, we have to get close to our reactor, containment vessel, and, of course, our waste drum is filling up quite quickly. There we go. Alright. So, that's the basics of a solid core reactor plant. By the way, a little bit of misinformation. You need up to 3 layers to guarantee that this thing isn't going to to stop the neutrons coming out of the plant. Alright? So you need at least 3 layers of concrete to fully stop the neutron radiation. Alright, so just keep that in mind. Watch out for your nuclear waste. Figure out a good way to get it out of your reactor. As you guys can probably tell, the piping systems in these plants can get awfully complicated awfully quickly. But that's part of the fun, isn't it, guys? Alright, so this has been Mr. Kasarian. This has been the first part of my ReactorCraft Spotlight. In the next part of the Spotlight, we will probably be covering pebble bed reactors. They have a much more complicated cooling system, etc., etc., but they can produce a fair amount of power as well. After that, we will also be covering breeder reactors, and eventually we will also cover the granddaddy of all nuclear power plants, the fusion plant. Stay tuned, guys. Check it out. Check out Reika's mod. It's actually really awesome. just be nice to your server owners. Don't build these things too big. Watch your steam plumes. In the next episode, I'll be also showing you guys how to keep that from going all the way up to block height and causing server lag. So this has been Mr. Kazarian. Thank you guys for watching. Check out Reika's mod. It's awesome as always. And happy mining, guys.